Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. I am your host, Angie Grandt, and I was listening to a master class from one of my mentors today, and she reminded me of a concept that I learned when I had first started working with her. It's funny how we can hear the same thing over and over and over again, and sometimes it's just that one time that we hear it that it really, really sinks in. I know here in this podcast, I've repeated topics or I've brought concepts back in time and time again. Um, Mostly because I each time I share it, I'm thinking a little bit differently about it. And I hope that each time you hear it, you've evolved to that next level of growth, that you also hear it a little bit differently too, or you're able to integrate it into the way that you're showing up for your kids differently. And as she was sharing today, her masterclass wasn't about parenting at all. It was about business. But she shared this key concept that I couldn't stop thinking about it on my drive home, about how, when I think about the clients that I've worked with so many lovely people over the past few years, who each client that I have had the um the beauty of serving has helped me grow and evolve and change and enhance what I'm doing. And yet, some of the clients that I serve, I see them making big leaps and bounds, and others, I see them get stuck. And it's not their fault, right? I think that when I see my clients getting stuck, and I see this too, I see this reflected in every part of my life. I see parents in social media groups that I'm in who are asking the same questions over and over and over again. And it's not their fault, right? They don't know any better. And quite frankly, where most parents get stuck is in doing exactly what we've been taught to do our entire life. Where most parents get stuck is in living our life in the way that our parents parented us and their parents parented them. We're repeating patterns, right? And and it isn't just about parenting though. This concept that I want to share with you today is about so much more than parenting, although today I want to chat about how it influences our parenting. But where I see most people getting stuck is in this idea that there's got to be a different solution outside of us that's going to create peace and calm at home. That there's got to be a strategy, a parenting hack, a behavior management system, a reward system, a something. There has to be this something outside of us that's going to fix our problem. And I don't blame you. Honestly, for the past 400 years ish, we've been in this energy of trusting and needing, quite frankly, systems and structures and routines and trusting outside authority. It's the energy that we've been in for the past couple of centuries because we need it to be. It that energy that we've been in has created hospital systems and governments. It's created order. It created the Industrial Revolution. It also came with a lot of ugly, right? When we are required or expected to conform, it creates this space where it's not safe or okay to be uniquely you. And there have been some great tragedies that have come from the same energy. It's just like anything I talk about in human design, that each energy has a negative, a shadow energy, and also on the opposite side of that same coin is this higher, more beautiful, more evolving energy. And that's what we've been in for the past several centuries, is this energy of structures and systems and outside authority. And so we as parents, we as humans, we expect that. We expect that if I have a problem, that there must be a solution outside of us. So as parents, we will often we'll take classes and courses and follow people on Instagram and watch TikToks and um, get degrees. My goodness. When I think about the extent that I went to understand trauma, to understand attachment, to understand how to fix my son's behaviors, it it's kind of nuts when I think about the hundreds of hours that I spent in trainings looking for that next right thing that was going to fix his behaviors. And also, part of me very firmly believed that not only was there some magic solution outside of me that was going to fix everything, that I just hadn't found the right thing, right? That's what my mind was telling me is, well, take another course. Maybe this is going to be the magic one that changes everything for his behaviors. Oh, no, no, that didn't work. Now take this course, get more knowledge, fill up your knowledge base with as much trauma and attachment information as you could possibly get. Books. Oh, I forgot about books, podcasts, all the things, right? These are all the things that we do to fill our mind with this knowledge so that we can do the thing, right? So we can manage behaviors better. And also, I started to say, and then I lost my train, but I thought not only one, I thought that the solution to his behaviors were in one of these courses, in one of these books, in one of these podcasts, with one of these experts, with one of these authorities outside of me. And also, I thought that the solution to his behaviors was for him to change. As his parent in the moment, I never would have admitted that. I would have time and time again said, he has this really tricky past and his behaviors are fueled by that. I still tell parents to this day that the behaviors themselves are fueled by this underlying current of trauma. And I believe that wholeheartedly. We know, science knows, research shows us that what our kids experience has this tremendous impact on them. And yet, with knowing a ridiculous amount about trauma, his experiences, and what he needed, things weren't getting better. In fact, they got quite a bit worse in our relationship. Because here's the piece that most parents are missing, is that it isn't the doing that needs more strategies. It isn't the action. It's actually the being. When we're working towards changing something significant in our life, you can take all the action you want, but if you're taking it as the being that you are today, the being who has the thoughts that you have and has the feelings that you have, you can listen to a gazillion podcasts and read thousands of books about that thing. But if who you're being, the thoughts that you're having, the feelings that you're having haven't changed, you're going to keep getting the same result. It's how it works. It's how it works for humans, right? So stick with me as we go through this process, because when I learned this concept, I still haven't perfected it yet, right? I'm human, just like you are. And I'm still working through my human experience, trying to use EFT to help to separate some of those negative emotions that are really just so tied to my thoughts. And there's still many, many more layers to work through, right? But if, for example, so let's backtrack to 10 years ago. I attend a workshop. I learn a ridiculous amount of information about how to handle challenging behaviors. And I had plenty of practice in my home, lots of things to trial it with. But me being the person that I am and not having this information, not knowing that it's the being doing the doing that matters more than the actual strategy, I didn't know that. And so I would bring the training home and I would go through the motions of doing whatever the thing was, whether it was, doing time ins or using reward systems or eliminating consequences or pulling in more sensory integration when my son was dysregulated, right? I had all of these strategies, but my thoughts were consistently that something along the lines of, well, this is a great strategy, but the behaviors are going to continue. Or, um, this is great now, but in 5 minutes, we're going to have another blow up. Or I still don't trust him, right? I had this whole, and those are just a few of them, but I had this whole bank of thoughts that I didn't even know I was thinking, but they were on repeat in my head. They were on such repeat in my head that they had become my beliefs. They were my beliefs about his behaviors and about who I thought he was. And they were tied to emotions. So I didn't just have these thoughts that were separate from emotions. When I would have these thoughts, I also had these feelings of frustration and regret and resent and anger and feeling unsettled. I had all of these feelings that were sitting in my body, causing physiological reactions in my body. And so then, yeah, I did the strategies. I did all of them. If anybody who was in my life at that time would have told you how relentlessly persistent I was in trying so hard to alleviate the behaviors. I was trying so hard to fix the problems. And yet my who I was being hadn't changed, hadn't evolved. In fact, who I was being was probably going, not probably, when I reflect back, who I was being was evolving backwards, right? I went into my parenting relationship hopeful and with this trauma lens that I looked at him and kids who had been through tricky things. I had this this compassion for what kids go through and how that influences behaviors. I had lighter feelings of compassion and understanding and love and thoughts about it isn't his fault. But over time, over repeated experiences, my thoughts started to shift. I started to believe, well, maybe sometimes he could control some of the behaviors. Maybe some of them are a choice. Maybe only some of them are fueled by trauma. Maybe some of them are things that he's doing because he hates me. Or I would hear the statement, any parent who's been in an adoptive or fostering parent situation has probably heard something along the lines of, well, but you're the mom figure, so you're probably going to get the worst of it, right? Those thoughts sat in my heart and changed the way that I thought, changed the way that I felt. And I didn't know that at the time. I do now. And I'm still working through healing through this, right? Because who I became in that process of being mom was so incredibly painful for me and for our relationship. It was so incredibly hard. But here's what I know. I know that I'm on this planet to really experience the pain so that I can sense what those patterns are that need to be broken. It's part of my life's work. It is written in my human design. That is what I'm on this planet to do, is to see those patterns that need to be broken and then to share it with you in a way that you can um and I don't want to be the like learn from what I did wrong, but I really encourage you to really listen to what I'm saying, is that you don't need more strategies. I know this podcast is all about practical strategies because again, that's in my design, right? I'm a 2-5 and the 5 is a practical leader, a leader who comes with practical solutions. It's part of who I am. But if I'm being brutally honest with you, you don't need more strategies. What we as parents really need to heal our parenting relationship is to first heal us. It's to pick a system that works for you to heal your negative energy, to release that negative energy that you don't want. Some people use meditation, some people use Reiki, some people use EFT, some people use journaling, some people go to therapy. Honestly, I don't care what strategy you do, but I implore you to do something to release old energy, old patterns, old generational energy that you have been carrying on unknowingly from generation to generation to generation, and it's showing up in your parenting relationship right now. That's one thing, is we must, as parents, we must heal ourselves first. because that story that you're dragging along about how you're supposed to parent, what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to handle behaviors, nobody knows what's best for your kids better than you do. Nobody. Let me say that again. Nobody knows better what's better for your kids than you do. No expert out there. Trust your instincts. You know what's best for them. Let go of all of the shoulds about what you think you should be doing. So heal yourself first and then work on your thoughts and your feelings. Then work on the being. There are some practical things that I do with my clients to help create a vision about who is that being that you want to be? What do you want that to look like? What do you want it to feel like? Imagine having a connected relationship with your kiddo. How does it feel? What kind of words are you saying to each other? What kinds of physical sensations are you having inside your body? Or maybe you're physically connecting with them again. I can tell you that when in my design, one of my core challenges, but also one of my superpowers is intimacy and connection. And I know that when this part of me fires up again and I get stuck back in my head and my old beliefs and those generational patterns are kicking in, I stop hugging and stop, like touching my kids on their arm or doing other ways to physically connect. I even find that eye contact becomes harder for me when I am so caught up in these beliefs that are milling through my head. I'm working on getting rid of them, but that's the work, right? If we want a different outcome in our relationship with our kids or our partner or with yourself, you must start with you first, healing you, and then we can work on the being who you want to be. Because once you are really stepping into who you want to be and you've changed your thoughts, you're creating the feelings that you want, then the strategies actually work. Then everything that those experts are sharing with you, they work. The strategies that I've shared here in this podcast or that I share with my clients, they actually work when you are being the person who your kiddo needs you to be, who you need you to be. So that's where I'm going to wrap things up today. I was just like I said, that concept was so very much in my heart, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you. So I hope that you found this powerful, and I would love to connect with you when it's right for you, when you're ready to start healing. This is what I do. I love helping parents to create the relationships that they know their kids deserve. Be well, and we will talk soon.